I want to give you guys an example of something, okay? Because I'm gonna I made 2 videos already, so this will basically be like a third part tying into everything I've already spoke about. But your job here is to represent something, right? Be a rep to your niche, or be a rep, be the god of a certain category. But there's always going to be a big face. There's always going to be many gods under them, right? And the way this dog-eat-dog world works is basically sometimes from the same category, you'll have one individual try to make sure that he stays the big boss. I'll give you an example. When you think of the category cartels and drug dealers, right? You all of a sudden think Pablo Escobar, right? When you think about, let's say, any topic, let's say gardening videos, you'll think of the main channel that sticks out to you for gardening videos, because that's the one that you chose. That'll be basically be the rep or the god of that realm for you to get your source of information. When you think of astrologers, you may have your favorite astrologer, because there's many astrologers online. So they're all gods in their respective right. But you're choosing one to get your information from because it resonates with you most, or it's the one that you can actually relate to the most, or it's the one that you can actually understand the most based on what they're putting out. I ran a supplement company, right? My job was to make, because there's many supplement companies. My job was to make sure that when they think of a certain category of supplements like protein, test boosters, pre-workouts, they automatically thought my brand, because I wanted to make sure I was first. I was always on top of when they hired new employees, when new people got promoted, let's say employees got promoted to the management position. I was always very on top of that, because I wanted to make sure that I was the first one there to make sure I implant the seed and let them know that my brand is the go-to, and how my brand is the best one to basically companion sell with their brand. Meaning, like, let's say if it's GNC or Vitamin Shop, my brand was the best complement to a GNC product. So I wanted to make sure the big sharks are the GNC and Vitamin Shop brand. So you know they're always going to want to sell their brand first, and then third party is always secondary. However, I made sure that I was the perfect partner, the perfect companion planting to help their companies thrive. My job was to make sure that I trained, because there's way too many stores. I was in charge of a large territory. Even out of the country, I was in charge of international sales. So I had to hire people, right? And condition them and groom them to have the same mentality I have, to make sure that they did what I did when I wasn't around. And in kind, I would compensate them for it. Because if I bonused, you better believe I was going to share a little percentage of my bonus with everybody to make sure that I kept them happy and more motivated to keep doing that. And the more, the money came in for me, the better it was for me. But I was making the main owner and the CEO richer, which is the owner of the company that I was running and helping grow, right? But I had to do that by making sure that I was first in line, and I was also sort of cutthroating, but not directly. I wasn't bashing other brands. What I was doing is I was just showing how my brand was superior to others through training and development, by getting them to understand individual ingredients and how there were certain ingredients that stood out over others, and even the formulation of how things were designed stood out over the competition, right? And how it was the perfect companion selling with the main organizations like GNC and Vitamin Shop. Again, I made the example of the garden, companion planting, how things can strive and deter things by having things. It's a structure. It's an organization that you basically set up in your garden, right? The world is set up in a way where it's a big giant organization, right? This is why sometimes you'll see certain people who will speak on carnivorism, veganism. When you think of veganism, you always have that main vegan YouTuber in mind. Meanwhile, there's many vegan YouTubers, but one will always stick out to you, while another may stick out to somebody else. You see what I'm saying? So this is how it's kind of like a dog-eat-dog world. You know what I'm saying? There's one guy here, right, who the channel's called Raw Vegan Rising. right? And this gentleman speaks on just raw vegan diet. Now, a lot of the information he speaks on is correct. Is something that I say, wow, this is right. This is good shit. However, would I live this lifestyle, right? Because he will promote it as if everybody should be raw vegan. And technically everybody should. But would it keep the economy moving in a sense? In the way that it's moving now, where there's profit everywhere. I'll give you an example. I made an example in my previous video how you could be like Pablo Escobar and physically like threaten them and say, you do business or we shoot you. Plata o plomo. Usted decide, marica. So then, you know, they can either decide to stand their ground and get shot, or they can do business, right? No different than now. If you do it in a higher evolved way, you'll see that a company will either offer to buy you out, right? You go home, make some money, or you could just stand your ground and go to business with a big company and get taken out in a way where you go bankrupt. You get what I'm saying? So there's many ways to look at it where it doesn't just involve a direct mirror, right? So when you are repping, you're becoming the god of that intellectual property, right? You have something to represent. You're representing, because that's all it's about, rep. You got the main gang leader in the hood, but then you got the foot soldiers underneath. They repping their colors or their gang, right? They rep. They represent. You got same thing with government. You got police officers, right? That basically are representatives, right? I had demo reps that represented my brand. They were brand ambassadors, but I was the main head. But there's always that CEO, the owner of the company, that I was helping make profit based on what I got hired for. My skills and attributes, my ability to speak, and my ability to sell, my ability to train and develop my leadership qualities, which not everybody has, right? So when you have certain niches, see, I know this information is correct, because Food and Drug Administration, food could be a medicine or food could be a drug. But there's certain things from the position that I'm in that I can't feed by just partaking in this diet. However, this guy is 50 years old and he's repping this category of raw vegan by his appearance, how he speaks, and a lot of people demonize and bash him, right? But this is what we would consider anecdotal claims, not backed up by medical science or medical claims. I saw a vegan YouTuber named Happy Healthy Vegan make a video pretty much bashing this individual, right? And this is kind of like what we're talking about, dog eat dog world. When you have a cartel, a main cartel leader, you want to prevent other smaller cartels from getting too big, because they'd be a threat to you. You won't be looked at as the big boss anymore, right? It's the same thing with the system. The system, everything is basically maintained and monitored to make sure you don't get too big, too influential, right? We can look at this from the examples of Andrew Tate, or the examples of, like, let's say certain leaders of certain things they were repping. Like let's talk about Stanley Myers, who invented the car to run on water. Nikola Tesla, how his information was basically taken and hidden after he died, but he basically died broke with all that knowledge and all that information that he basically had that's so useful for us today. He died broke, right? But then the people who died rich would be the guys that supported the system to keep the system moving, right? Like Chase, what the hell is his name? Chase, Thomas Edison, you know what I'm saying? One was involved in alternate current, the other one was involved in direct current. One promoted free energy, the other one didn't, right? One promoted a free way to travel with your car, the other did, the others don't, right? Because it would put the oil and fuel out of business, right? These resources that, see, the whole thing, again, everything is about money. Money is a very, very interesting tool that keeps people working for this tool. And every day that you're here, you're selling your soul to something which is going to be for money, because you're putting most of your time and energy of your day to go work to maintain a household, maintain your properties, and keep your family together, right? A lot of people even kill each other for this physical manifestation of energy because it has so much power for that reason. It's really a true symbol of power. But does it manage you, or do you manage it? Do you work for money, or is there a way for you to have money working for you? There's even loopholes in people, how they pay taxes. You can see Donald Trump, right? Where he was having a debate with Hillary Trump, which I'm going to tie that in the description of this video. How he answered the question on how he manipulated a way for him to pay taxes, but it's all coming from the way that Hillary Clinton managed the system. All he did was just utilize what was there to his advantage. If you're a good speaker and you're quick with your words and quick with your comeback, it's no different than you being a smart mixed martial art fighter, right? There's counters, and if you can counter, you can knock your opponent out. If you don't know how to block and counter, then you may get taken out. But this is basically what you're going to see and experience in YouTube land also as well. One attacks another's intellectual property. You know what I'm saying? You got the crowd. They're following to back them up, because it's not even about the information anymore. It's all about, these people are there for the fucking drama aspect of it, because that's the real negative energy. That's the misuse of the feminine energy. That's what it is. You can utilize the feminine energy for attraction, as far as like utilizing that love frequency for building in harmony. Because like I was going to get into it and I completely fucking sidetracked what I was saying. You can have the business where it's plata o plomo. You can have it where, you know, you take the competition out by outselling them or buying them out, which would be kind of like the same analogy I'm using for plata o plomo. Or you could do it where you're in that loving frequency where everybody is thriving, because there's no need for competition. You eliminate it. You see, people say eliminate the competition. The competition is not your opponent. The competition is competition itself. That's like people saying, are you fearful? The only thing to fear is fear itself, right? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. So you're eliminating the frequency of competition, which means that you're making money and everybody else is making money as well. And this can be done in many ways, because your neighbor is you. So if you're thriving, everybody else is thriving. That's like me having a business and I'm also trying to keep everybody broke. How would I make money if I'm keeping everybody broke? They wouldn't even be able to buy my product. You see, kind of like the same, the way you could look at things. There's certain businesses that may complement yours. Let's say if I'm in a strip mall, there could be an anchor store. And I've managed strip malls. And that's why I'm talking about this. It's all through experience. If I have a GNC and then there's a store that brings a lot of traffic, that's considered an anchor store. Those people will most likely stop at my store because it's next to a store that has a lot of high traffic. What if I'm in a mall where all the stores that I have near me are shit? They're useless to me because they're not bringing in foot traffic. So it's not necessarily that people were shopping for supplements, but the fact that it brought in so much traffic and my store happens to be there, they'll be like, hey, you know what? I could go in and buy some supplements. I was thinking about being on a weight loss journey. It may be summertime coming. So people are buying their little summer clothes in, like, let's say Express, or a store that brings in a lot of traffic, or a store that is high end, which only rich people go to. People are going to come in and be like, yo, you know what? It's summertime. I need to buy some supplements to complement what I'm buying here for my summer clothing. Let me go buy a fat burner. Let me buy a pre-workout to get my lazy ass into the gym. You see what I'm saying? So you can look at things as anchors. That's why people do collabs. But then there's insecure people who won't do collaborations because they are fearful that this person will get bigger than them. Many different ways to look at this shit. But it's all coming from you and your perspective and how secure you are in yourself, how rooted you are in yourself. But the reason I'm even bringing this up is because I'm listening to this dude and he's talking about how great the raw vegan diet is, which is absolutely fact. It is 100%. If you look like you're aging a little bit, the raw vegan diet may help you. If you're sick and you have ailments, the raw vegan diet is for you. But if you're healthy, thriving and whatnot, I'm not going to partake in a 100% raw vegan diet. from the perspective and position that I'm in, I can't feed certain things within me on a raw vegan diet. But that's because this realm is ran, it's duality, but there's many different positions that you could take. There's many carnivores who stand by their brand tooth and nail. And there's many sciences to back their claim up, but most importantly, there's anecdotal claims. These people say that they've been on a carnivore diet for years, but they say that they're thriving on it. Who is to say that that's a lie? There's guys on a raw vegan diet. Who is to say that that's a lie? Right? I believe him. And I believe the carnivore who's thriving on a fucking carnivore diet. Right? But then here's the thing though. In this body, this I heard from Dolo the Pilot Man, which stuck out to me. He said that there's certain chakras that could be in certain conditions that others can't. The upper chakras can't be submerged underwater for a long period of time. But the lower chakras could be submerged in water for a longer period of time. Where it even comes down to, if it comes down to chest level, you'll even start to feel the pressure already on your chest, which actually prevents you from breathing too much. When you get the water up to your neck. When it comes up to here, now you only got a certain amount of time before you could be submerged that long. But you could be submerged for a longer period of time if it's up to your waist, right? Those chakras are designed to be under certain conditions that the upper chakras cannot. But certain chakras is equivalent to certain people here. They're just different energies in this body and in this vessel where you're not going to have the heart indoctrinate the fucking kidneys on how to be a heart. The kidneys have to do their individual functions for the whole body to strive, and the heart chakra has to do its individual functions for the heart chakra to strive, for the body to survive and strive. But they each have to do their own individual functions for the whole body as one unit, one universe to strive and survive. This system is based on many different aspects and points of view here. So what happens now? You are the observer. You are in this body, but you are not of this realm, right? You are projecting this whole thing from your heart space. The heart could be a war organ or it could be a loving organ. When you hear people, let's say war, you always hear those drums. Boom, 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 boom. You get that. That's the war organ. But then you also got a loving frequency that the heart represents, because the heart is basically those that represent duality, but it can be in a neutral state, which means it's harmony with your environment, how you're perceiving it. And then the cells are basically going to be governed by your perception of how you see things. The way you perceive your reality from your heart space comes down to a heart-brain coherence. Is there a disconnect? What is coming out of your mouth, right? This Midgard center. Because you also got Midgard, which could be considered the heart, but the lower realms, the gonads, okay? That's your stability, the root system, right? Your primal natures. How much do you have those under your command and control determines your willpower, right? Your sex drive. How are you seducing people? It all starts from that lower realm. The rainbow starts to harmonize within your body. I'm going to show you a little clip here before I disconnect everything. But this is the video I'm talking about. I'm going to link this video in the description as well. Let me make sure I get this. I don't know how to focus this camera. Every time I put a focus on something, it's always like this. But give me 1 second. Bear with me. There you go. All right, I guess it's this button right here. Perfect. Right here. I'm going to link the video in the description of this video, but listen to this carefully.
Misconception number 3. Vegans have to take supplements.
I'm already halfway through this video.
Let's not forget, all livestock are fed supplements. All animal products are fortified with supplements. Animal products are stimulant-based foods. We become dependent on them, which means our body becomes very weak and very atrophied. Like, if you didn't go into the gym for, say, 2 years, and all of a sudden you go into the gym, it's all going to feel overwhelming and heavy, and your body is not up to speed. When we eat animal products, it makes us dependent on these fortified foods, dependent on the stimulant foods, dependent on the supplements that were fed to these animals. then our body doesn't have to work. Our body doesn't have to extract the nutrients from the plants. We want our body to work hard. The harder your body works to extract nutrients from plants, the healthier you're going to be. And all of this sentiment that we want to eat organ meats and meat, it makes it easy to digest and it's more bioavailable, is a bunch of BS because we want...
So you have to keep this in mind now. He's the god of this realm when it comes down to this topic, right? So when you think of, see, like when I think of raw vegan, I could think of Robert Morse. I could think of this individual, right? Those would be the gods of that property, of that realm, that area of information. So I may refer to him, let's say, when I may have collected along the way something that may be useful to me now. Fuck, I got an ailment now. Let me go back and watch some of those videos. You may go back and watch those videos, right? You may utilize the information there and then apply it. No different than you going to a doctor and taking a medication in hopes to get better. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Sebi speaks about the raw, natural, God's food, right? But then we can actually look at it even deeper. Who are breatharians, and why is somebody able to practice something called breatharianism? Because there's actually nutrients in your environment called life force, which is not necessarily nutrients, right? The life force itself is fulfilling your body in ways that even nutrients cannot. These are considered medicine, okay? Supplements are not medicine, okay? They're not medicine. Supplements are something that you are supplementing for what you could get through food as medicine. But the real food should be breathing properly. Even 70% of your toxins are eliminated through breathing. So when your body is being purified through breathing, you're controlling blood pressure, you're eliminating toxins from the body, so you're able to actually intake proper mineral utilization. Herbology is important for that, okay? You have these plants, right, that we talk about, oh, they're not sentient beings. Plants, you are the mind of these plants, which is why when you take certain plants, you may have altered states of consciousness. And what is it that's having that altered state of consciousness? Is you, or is it the plant having that experience through you and you're observing it, but you're so deep rooted in the body that you think you're the one having that experience? You know what I'm saying? See, real food is what plants are able to bear for you, bear the fruits of your labor, right? That's why people say you bear the fruits of your labor. So when a plant grows and it bears fruit for you, this is what you should be intaking as medicine, not the actual plant. The plant, yes, they are very much alive and should be fought for even more than or as much as animals. And here's my opinion why. A lot of these vegans, they eat plants and protect animals, while I'm out here growing plants and taking care of plants. It's just like I said, it's perspective and perceptions. I'm more worried about the fruits that these plants can bear for me rather than actually eating the plants. Because most of the time you see a plant-based burger, how much of a plant is actually in it versus what all these other modified ingredients that they'll call plant ingredients in these imitation burgers. If you like this video, like it, and we'll talk soon.